everybody, this is the Weekend. So despite having a slightly clunky title in Italian, novel about a massacre, even though the title kind of fits because it's, you know, written in chapters and it has, you know, a chronology about what happened in 1969. This is one of my absolute favorite Italian movies of all time. Let's find out why, shall we? This is a very fascinating movie, and let's go, shall we? But first, some historical context, because we need to understand certain things in order to figure out why this happened, in what environment this happened. You see, 2 years before this, in 1967, it was the coup in Greece, where the military took over the power. And Italian democracy was, you know, a rather young thing, and people in high places were, you know, afraid that there was going to be a, you know, coup from either the communists or from neo-fascists and stuff like that, because there had been a couple of, you know, coup attempts, and the political structure in Italy was a bit rickety, to say the least. So we had, you know, strikes and fighting in the streets. People were getting killed, and, you know, things blew out of proportions, and there was lots of tension, and people were generally scared that there was going to be an actual factual coup. And we had so many, you know, different factions: the neo-fascists, the communists, the anarchists, and everybody was infiltrating everybody. The neo-fascists were infiltrating the communists, and the government were infiltrating the neo-fascists, and so on and so on. And nobody actually knew who actually was infiltrating who, or whose side people were on. So there was a lot of confusion, there was a lot of tension. And a few days before Christmas 1969, in Milano, there was a bank that blew up, and 17 people were killed. Who bombed this place? Was it the anarchists? A bunch of people got arrested, and there was an event that took place in the room that will go into haunt this movie for the rest of this of the runtime. So people are arrested on very, very loose evidences, and is it in fact some kind of a governmental cover-up or something like that? That's what we're gonna find out in this movie also, I hope. People are trying to puzzle together who could have done this or why, and we also get to see this from very different types of viewpoints. The movie basically is like a chronology of what happens, and in different areas we follow different people, and, you know, we'll see slowly that a pattern is building. So will we actually get the truth of what happened back in 1969? Because when you're talking about, you know, Italian movies, there is always the chance that things will end in absolute tragedy or absolute absurdity. And this is a sort of kind of a thriller, kind of a cop movie, and not so much a, you know, whodunit thing, but it's more of an expose of, you know, a broken judicial system in Italy, and you know, we have political backstabbings and, you know, corruption, which makes it very, very difficult to actually find out what happened. And we have this cop that is sort of kind of our main character, because he's, you know, most of this movie, and he's a very likable guy, and he really wants to, you know, find out the truth about this. But how do you get the truth in a society that is so corrupt, and you have to oblige by so many political wills and stuff like that? And sometimes the entire thing is just so insane that you're thinking to yourself, you can't be serious. And the entire thing almost reads like a black farce sometimes, and, you know, things that you think couldn't possibly be any dumber or any more corrupt or any more insane, then you're proven wrong, especially by the title card that comes in the end when you're, you know, told what actually happened to so-and-so, such and such, and, you know, various people that you have seen in this movie. It's a very, very interesting big tapestry that is growing in front of your eyes. Things that you don't think will be important is actually very, very important later. And you're never quite sure what's going to happen. You're never quite sure who is going to backstab who, or who is going to go back on their words, and who is going to lie at certain points. And you know, there is a lot of things going on in this movie. One of the few things I don't like about this movie is the fact that this movie is so packed with stuff that it actually needed to be a little bit longer, I think. Even though this movie clocks in at 132 minutes, it does feel like it could have, you know, gone even longer. But it is a movie that is very fascinating, that has so many different layers to itself, and sometimes it's actually quite a funny story. And if there is something that Italians love to, is to clank down on you know, governmental agencies and servicemen and stuff like that, and the whole thing is just so fascinating, and it takes on such a huge story under such a long time. The movie that this movie reminds me most of is actually the movie Zodiac. It is technically a movie about, you know, a serial killer, but it's actually about, you know, the obsession of Jake Gyllenhaal's character and his, you know, struggles to try to find, you know, the Zodiac killer. This movie has a similar theme to itself, but it is a little bit differently, you know, structured. So, if you've never seen this movie, I really, really recommend it. It's a fast-paced, very, very well played, very, very well written movie that feels like almost kind of a documentary, but it does have so many different viewpoints and so many different angles to itself that I ended up thinking this movie does not need to be a documentary. This movie actually has to be shot in this way and structured in this way to function, and it wouldn't work as a documentary. That's why I'm so happy that this is one of these things where it works better as a feature-length film rather than a documentary. And it is a fascinating story, and you're never quite sure what's going to happen. And the characters are very likable, and you have so many fascinating characters and fascinating aspects of the whole thing. You feel like you're there. You feel like you are there in late 60s, early 70s Italy, and it is a cool movie, and it is a fascinating movie, and a tragic movie, and also a little bit funny sometimes. I give this movie 88 points. It is an incredibly well played, very fascinating movie that takes its subject very serious and it feels different than your standard Italian movie. And it is a deeply fascinating story that just keeps growing and growing and growing until it unfortunately has to end, because I really wanted more. This was really, really, really good. So I'll see you next time from So and So Reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.